Hignet's corner, beyond Bent. Janssen! And Blackburn Rovers are 18 minutes away from a Premiership return.
As far as Stewart, just outside the penalty area, clips it central for David Dunn. David Dunn equalises! It just had to be. Dack's corner and it goes. Glance towards goal! And Rovers have taken the lead! And Charlie Mulgrew has scored his 14th of the season. It may well be the goal that sends Rovers back into the Championship.
Hello Rovers fans and welcome to our special live stream this evening. We've got no on the other side, but remember the 5th of November. Well, in Rovers' case, remember the 3rd of November, but the less said about that, the better. But we'll still do a live stream tonight. We're going to talk about the Sheffield United game. But given the significance of our last result and the impact that that has had on the fan base and potentially the season so far, we did want to do a stream tonight just to give people their chance to air their views. And as you can see, I've been joined by Alex Lomax tonight. You've 2 in a week, Alex. It's great to have you back on the streams. How are you doing?
So you got me back once. No, you can't get rid of me, eh? I think it's good just to kind of go through midweek and then obviously what we think about tomorrow's game and I think the significance of it as well. And I just think it's been a pretty emotional week for fans, hasn't it? I think it's been an emotional week for the club as well. And I think often the answer to that is to kind of have a reasoned discussion about it and hear everyone's views. So I'm looking forward to doing that tonight, really, and putting my views forward and expecting some obviously contrary views as well, but that's what supporting your club's all about, isn't it? So yeah, looking forward to it.
Absolutely that. So please, Rovers fans, we've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter and other social media about the result. We are going to focus the first half of this stream just on that Fulham result. So please do interact with us in the comments. As Alex says, there are people with differing views on what happened on Wednesday and obviously what's happened since that point as well. And what we pride ourselves at Rovers Chat is giving everyone the chance to have that debate and that good discussion, and no view is a wrong one. So please interact with us in the comments and just let us know how you're feeling. I will be strategically muting myself at various points on this stream because there are fireworks galore going on outside my house. So apologies if any of those go off on the stream. But before we get stuck into this, just a big thank you to 6yardsout.com and Blue Rose Capital for their ongoing and very kind sponsorship of the channel. So, Alex, let's start with Wednesday night then. We've got a few things that we're going to run through before, in about 20 or so minutes' time, we move our focus on to the Sheffield United game. I kind of just want to work from this before the game and then obviously to where we are at today. We did host a space on Twitter after the result on Wednesday. And then I saw various comments, some from myself as well, a tweet that I did. Do you feel like we kind of set up to lose that game or that game was there? We were losing that game before a ball was even kicked because of the way we were set up is how I meant to word that. And I know that in particular, you were a bit wound up about some comments about Alexander Mitrovic and what Mowbray said on Sky as well, didn't you? So just how did you feel before the game? This is a Fulham side that are good and they score a lot of goals. Were you feeling confident at all?
Well, you had me on for the preview earlier in the week, and I can't lie and say that I wasn't feeling somewhat positive on the back of 2 wins. I think that's natural with most fans. I think you go into a game and you've just had an away win that hasn't lost at home all season, so there's that element of positivity going into the game. I predicted a draw. How stupid does that look now? But there's just something not quite right pre-game, in my opinion. I'd be interested to hear everyone else in the comments, but we discussed Mitrovic. We know how good he is in this league. There's obviously doubts about him as a Premier League quality operator, but there are so many players, aren't there, that you can reel off the list of that are just lethal in the Championship and don't really do much in the Premier League. And I think the almost out of hand dismissal by Mowbray of Mitrovic in the pre-match presser as kind of anyone who would remotely pose a threat, and even worth kind of considering or planning to try and mitigate against. I just found it stunning at the time, and then I found it even more stunning as I watched him glance in the second goal early on in the game, and I just think that, I don't know if you would agree with me on this, but I think it crystallised to me kind of the amateurish approach to the game, I think, throughout the game, because this game does deserve discussing in some detail because it was a historic game for all the wrong reasons. It's part of the club's history. It'll go down as part of the club's history, and these players and those coaches will be a part of that. And so, as I say, it's vital to go through all of this again, and even if it seems like we're going over some really pointless things, I just think these things really did contribute and set the ball rolling and set all of the factors in tow for what happened. I think a result like this only happens if many, many things go wrong. I said I think in the comments, it's like you watch these documentaries of these like aircraft crashes, and they only happen if 10 things go wrong at the same time. And I feel like that's what happened on Wednesday, and I think the manager started the ball rolling with that.
Alex, you've absolutely played a blinder there, by the way, as well, because the fireworks that were going off whilst you were talking near me were absolutely sensational. I thought I was going to come on to like loads of banging. It might still happen. But yeah, for me, I think before the game, one thing hit, there goes some fireworks. One thing that I've always kind of thought about Mowbray is there is a tendency to overthink things. And I know that this is a Fulham side that are potent in attack, etc., etc. I don't think the response was a false nine that was needed, and it was just things like that really bothered me before the game. So was there anything for you about not just what he said about Mitrovic before the game, but just how we were set up as well? Do you think he overthinks it? Do you think that we don't play to our strengths? You know, how do you feel in that regard?
Well, I think of all the players that you would probably move to the false nine position, I would say that Buckley, as the midfielder who won our Player of the Month with the fans' vote just the previous week, based on his efforts in midfield, would then be moved into that false nine position, which I'm yet to see working all of the time I've been supporting Rovers under this manager. I've yet to see it work, and it was a calamity, wasn't it? It was a calamity from start to finish. I think the one thing I would say that really set the tone for me was in the first 2 or 3 minutes of the game when Bradley Johnson gave the ball away in midfield and Kaminsky was almost chipped. That just set the tone for the entire performance for me. It led right into the sloppiness for the first goal. Rothwell giving the ball away in midfield, and then poor defending on the edge of the area, and you 1-0 down to these teams. So yeah, it was a series of errors, but I would say that if you had to tell me where the biggest tactical mistakes were made, it would be in the second half, and I think that's probably justified based on the number of goals conceded in each half and the way the game panned out. But I think the game, as you say, the ball was set rolling based on decisions made early on in the game, which put us on the back foot even before the sending off.
As I unmute myself to more fireworks, just picking up Callum's comment here. I feel Brio should have been the false nine with Kadra in the wing, as Brio is more capable of holding the ball. And Callum, you know, I know that Brio's been really effective from that left-hand side this season, and he's more of a wide striker. But I think you're absolutely right. You know, without Sam Gallagher in the side, let's just keep this simple. Brio down the middle and bring in Kadra on the left or on the right. You know, he has played left for Rovers as well. So I agree with that, Callum. I would have had Kadra and obviously kept Buckley in his main position and obviously see Bradley Johnson down onto the bench. And Daniel, thank you for your comment here. Great discussion, lads. New subscriber. Hope the channel grows and grows. Thank you, Daniel, and to everyone that supports the channel. You know, we've got a great following on Rovers Chat. Alex, I don't want to focus on the game too much because I think a lot of people have given their thoughts and views since Wednesday and probably want to forget the kind of detail of the game. But I think the thing that I know has irked you since the game are three things. So let's go through them in order. One is the post-match interview from Tony Mowbray. The second is this issue of players liking Harrison Reed's post, or one of our players doing that. And then the third is the press conference from Tony Mowbray today. So let's take these things in turn. So the post-match interview, I think annoyed you. Parts of it annoyed me as well. And I've seen lots of anger on Twitter as well. What did you want Mowbray to say after the game on Wednesday? What were you looking for?
Really simple. I apologise. I apologise to the fans who turned up to see that game. It doesn't reflect me or the players or this club. The club is a proud institution. It deserves better than that. I made some really bad mistakes tonight with the way I set the team up, and I'll endeavour not to make those mistakes again. That was all he had to say. He didn't have to throw the players under the bus. He didn't have to go into too much detail about the game, because many players made many mistakes. All he had to say was sorry. And we haven't had that either after the game, today, pre the Sheffield United game, or from any player or any member of staff associated with the football club since Wednesday. And I think, let's just think about this for a second. We've been worried about attendances to the games, haven't we? And I think we're trying to get fans back into the ground. And I just feel like the gulf between the club and the fans is just grown. And I just think it's been widened by what's happened this week. I don't know if I'm wrong thinking like that, but I just get that sense that there's a big section of the fan base that just feels like so detached from what's going on at the club and the people inside the club and the people involved in making the decisions at the club. All he had to say was sorry. I didn't expect anything more than that. I think the illusion I would draw is Hassan Hootel at Southampton after they had the 9-0, the famous 9-0 defeat to Leicester, didn't they? And it's incredibly, incredibly rare for a team to lose 7-0 in any league game. But to lose 7-0 at home is unheard of. It's unheard of because it's never happened before to Rovers, has it? It's never happened in 146 years, so it does deserve some discussion. I think what I would say is that Hassan Hootel came out and apologised and just said, we got things badly wrong. It will not happen again. If it does happen again, I won't be here. And that's all we needed to hear on Wednesday night. And I think that the thing that upset me the most was his comment that it was no surprise the way the game panned out. I'm like, so you expected us to lose 7-0 with 10 men to Fulham? Like, is that what our expectations are now as a fan base? Am I in the wrong for not expecting us to lose 7-0 at home when we go down to 10 men? Is that unreasonable of me to think that? I don't know, but I've been questioning my own expectations in the last 2 or 3 days. I'd just love to hear your opinion on this, because I don't think it's acceptable to lose 7-0 in any game, regardless of the amount of injuries or red cards or adverse circumstances you have. To lose by that margin is just unforgivable, really. It's unforgivable, and all he needed to do was come out and apologise. But what we've had instead is we've had the foot on the pedal even more aggressively, and it's actually just made matters even worse for me. I think it's made matters even worse.
A few things just in response to what you said there, Alex. Had we been turned over 7-0 by Man City or Liverpool, I still would be angry at that result. If Mo Salah had rocked up and scored a hat-trick or whatever and we've been battered in that way, I would be angry, let alone bloody Fulham. So that's why I'm angry. The second thing I'll say is I'm really loving watching this young squad, and we are told all the time that it's a young squad. These are young players learning their trade. I'll support them. I'll protect them, etc., etc. What I heard post-match, And what happened during that match, for me, was not protecting those players. They needed guidance in that second half. They didn't need telling, let's go for Fulham, who, if we go back to the preview of this game, had scored 4 or more goals in 3 of their 7 away games. This is a deadly side. So they weren't protected for me. And I wanted Mowbray to just come out and own it, as you say, to say all those things that he's been saying about them being a young squad that he will protect. I'm protecting them now because I'm taking ownership of what happened. It was my fault. Chaos was caused, yes, by Van Hecker and that stupid tackle. He's part of the blame as well. But it was my fault. I thought we could go and get back in the game by attacking Fulham. It backfired. I'm sorry. We won't make the same mistakes again. And that's exactly what I wanted to hear as well. And that kind of lack of accountability and the lack of remorse, I think, is the thing that's annoying the fans the most, isn't it? And I think, you know, Callum's picked it up as well. One word, accountability. He defends himself, never admits his mistakes, saying we won't be complaining after a win is upsetting. Well said, Alex. And Callum, this is the thing that I think is kind of a bit of a get out of jail free card at the moment. I said in our private contributors chat for Rovers Chat earlier on today that I think a lot of fans had made their mind up about Mowbray last season and thought that he should have gone and maybe he had taken us as far as he could go. When that didn't happen, I think everyone moved into the, okay, it's blind faith territory. We will support the club, we'll support him in the hope that we do something good. And on the whole this season, it's been great. We've had some good results. We've got the Brereton stuff that's brilliant. And we're 3 points off the playoffs, as Mowbray says. But I think the thing that just shows the deep feeling within our fan base is this isn't the only time when the fans have gone mental after a result this season. QPR away and Huddersfield away and Blackpool away, the same people are still saying about the manager taking us as far as he can go. So that feeling is still there. It's a deep-rooted scar, and a 7-0 result actually just adds complete petrol to that depth of feeling that was there already. So Alex, just I'll just say hello to FM and Ollie as well. Hello FM and hello Ollie, just as that popped up. And let's talk Blackburn Rovers. Good evening, guys. Mowbray, and we're going to come on to the words today, actually. So I'll come back to that comment. So the second thing in this list of things we wanted to talk about, Bradley Dack liking Harrison Reed's post on Instagram. So for those of you that haven't seen it, Harrison Reed did a post on his Instagram account that was one of those generic ones where he said, great win, Fulham, well done, lads, blah, blah, one of those. And Bradley Dack liked that post. It's caused a lot of anger in our fan base about the fact that obviously Dack is a player of Blackburn Rovers. Why is he liking a post about a team that's beaten Blackburn Rovers 7-0? Elliot Bennett's been involved in that. There's been a bit of discussion, and Elliot Bennett has essentially made the point that he was liking a post of a popular member of the playing squad, and Bradley Dack has said, couldn't have worded that better myself. Where do you stand on this, Alex? Has it annoyed you? I'll say my view. It's not annoyed me. I think it's ill-advised from Bradley Dack to do that. I understand why he's done it. You know, Harrison Reed was popular. I think maybe a private message to Harrison Reed or something along those lines might have just looked better, but I'm not going to get too agitated about it. Where are you on it?
I'll probably just lump this in with like the social media response more generally, but my answer to this would be, I understood why he did it. I understood it's a convention between ex-teammates that you show respect. You know, particularly ex-teammates that you're particularly close with. You follow them on social media, you keep a close eye on their careers, and that's all well and good. But there were a lot of fans that were really hurting this week and went to the game. And just the optics isn't great, is it? You know, you have a record home club defeat, and it was a post reveling in victory against this club. And I think that to be liking that post in light of what's happened this week, I just think it was ill-advised. I think it was a little bit. It was just stupid. But we're all allowed to make stupid mistakes. We've all done them before. I've made plenty of stupid mistakes in my life. You probably have, Ryan, and we all will. We all make stupid mistakes. It's fine. We move on. the one thing that kind of upset me was a bit of like doubling down. I would just say, just take your medicine, just send him a private message and move on, because when fans are hurting like Rovers fans are this week, they will look to places to vent their anger. And I think that's natural, isn't it? You know, when you have a just shock like that, this club's been through this last few days, people look for things to criticise, me included, and the optics of that is just terrible. I think it's been realised that it was, and the like's been rescinded now, and I think it's something we can move on from. But I just think it's something that need mentioning, because it did upset a lot of fans, and I think as a fan channel, and we represent the fans, and we have fans of all persuasions on this channel, I think it's important that we mention that. I just thought it was an important thing to bring up. I think the one thing I would say about the rest of the social media response, or should I say silence, is they may have been told to just stay quiet and respond with actions rather than words on Saturday. And I'm happy to give them the benefit of the doubt with that. You know, rather than go on Instagram and grovel about how they're going to put things right and how terrible it was and how ashamed they are and how sorry they are. I don't mind if all of them stay quiet and actually produce the goods on Saturday. Actions rather than words. I'm fine with that. But what that means is there's going to have to be a hell of a response tomorrow, isn't there? Because if we get another, would you say, performance or result, then you would think the pressure on the club is going to just get to an intolerable phase where someone's going to have to say something and it's going to boil over somehow. So I'm happy to give them the benefit of the doubt at the moment. I'm trying to be positive. I'm trying to be as balanced as I can. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt for now. Just stay quiet and actions rather than words, because that's what we need now. We need actions, don't we, on Saturday?
Completely, Alex. Couldn't agree more with that. And fireworks go off just as you finished talking there. I couldn't agree more. And it wouldn't surprise me if they have been told to be quiet. So let's see. We'll get onto the Sheffield United focus fairly shortly on this stream. Callum, in agreement with what you were saying there as well, Alex. I don't think Dack was thinking clearly. Needs to apologise and move on. Don't make the same mistake twice. We all screw up sometimes. And there's an irony, isn't there? Had Fulham lost that game and Bradley Dack liked a Harrison Reed post, no one would be saying anything. So it's just the manner of the defeat, how much it hurts the fans. That's actually the issue. No one's, against Bradley Dack liking a Harrison Reed post because, he was a popular member of the squad. So the third thing, before we move on to focusing on Sheffield United, please forgive all the fireworks, everybody. I hope it's not too loud. Let's talk Blackburn Rovers. Brought this up as well. Good evening, guys. Mowbray's word today really wound me up. The other night was an embarrassment, and he seems to want to pull the wool over the eyes of the fans. And he's done a couple of interviews today, Alex. I saw the BBC Radio Lancashire interview, and there was a few funny things in there where he said things like, had we won, we would have been fourth, and if we win on Saturday, we'll still be in the playoffs. And words such as, I can't remember what he said, doom mongers, I think was the word. I'm not going to give the doom mongers any airtime, or, I'm not on social media and all of those types of things. I think the thing that annoys me with some of that is I'm a little bit older than you. There are a generation of younger fans that have only seen one period of success in our history, and that is the League One promotion season. I luckily have seen more than that. I've seen us in Europe. I've seen us win the Worthington Cup. I've seen us win the Premier League. So I've got more reference points in that. There's also a generation of fans that are staying away because of the ownership of this club, who largely are the older generation. So if I was wise, I wouldn't be alienating the younger fans who, for me, are the lifeblood of our club at the moment, who we do need to be a big part of this fan base going forward, particularly whilst Venky's are in charge. So saying things like, I don't engage with social media, I don't, kind of brushing it all under the carpet and things. How does that make you feel as a young fan hearing what he said today?
I think it's the realities of modern football. I think every club has a following on social media. We're all included in that as Rovers Chat. We're fairly active on certain platforms, and I'm not claiming that we get 1 million views every video, because we don't, but I think we try and articulate the prevailing views of the fan base at any given time. And I just think the manager speaks an awful lot about social media for someone who doesn't actually go on it, supposedly. He does get rattled quite a lot by something he doesn't actually see, so that does kind of make me a little bit suspicious. I think if you view the interview as a whole and what he said today, it screamed of someone looking for a payoff to me. A little bit like a couple of the interviews last season in the 2-17 run. I think the biggest thing was for me that he doubled down, no apology, and the most egregious of all of the things he said today was that he essentially insinuated that any fan who has a more critical view than would be the average view should be told to shut up at the ground. And I think, once again, I go back to it. We're a club that's short of fans. We're trying to attract fans back into the stadium. We need to accept all points of view, yet our manager is actively trying to stop anarchy within the fan base, trying to pit fans against one another and cause even more divisions and even more strife than what we've already been through on social media in the last 7 to 10 days. I think the biggest thing I'd say about social media is it's the age we're living in. It makes things more instant. People have now got a voice, whereas previously they had no voice and no platform. The average man or woman can express their opinion, and it can be broadcast around the world. It means that performances are demanded faster. It means that communication is quicker. It means that people often don't have to make the same effort to give the same level of abuse that they might have had to 30 or 40 years ago, when they had to write a letter and turn up at various places in the hope that someone would be there to heckle them. And you see that in politics as well as football, don't you? Just the kind of the culture around it. But like I say, the biggest thing for me were the remarks he made. So stoking fans against one another with the "shut up" comment, the talking about supporting your club through thick and thin, and the fact that Blackburn Rovers couldn't be in the Premier League or in League Two. He needs to get his facts right, because we've never actually been in League Two, so he doesn't know that about the club, so that's not great. He should understand we've only spent 5 or 6 seasons in the third tier and never gone below that. Administration permitting, obviously, and I hope that never happens to the club. But he repeated the burden comment around not wanting to be a burden. I would say if you are ever going to call yourself a burden, it would be after a 7-0 defeat. I don't know if you agree with me on that, but and he, in my opinion, threw the players under the bus. He called out the youth of the side. That if we had Graham and Mulgrew and Derek Williams and Elliot Bennett in that side, we wouldn't have folded like we did. And said, well, you can sack me and get Pep in, because that's what you'll need to get into the Premier League. And I think that shows he has quite a high opinion of himself. I think if he rates himself along like Pep and Klopp and thinkers in a game like that, I think one of the members of his cult actually compared him to Klopp on Twitter the other night. He was quickly blocked. But it kind of sums up the prevailing view from the interview, which is a complete deflection, a complete distraction of what happened, and it's almost like we're carrying on as if it didn't happen, and that I struggle to express the anger and frustration I feel from today, because I feel like I'll sum it up as follows. If you branded that interview as a Steve Keane interview, it would have passed for muster. And what I mean by that is he has taken the wounds that have only just started to heal between fans and he's ripped them open again. You know, the wounds that he's kind of healed over the last 3 or 4 years, and he's taken a scalpel and just cut them open again. And I just find that so regrettable. I find that so regrettable because I think me and you and Glenn, who I have my run-ins with, as you know, Glenn Entwistle, one of our contributors on Rovers Chat, that we all love the club and we all support it and we all have different views about it, but we should all be able to get together and support one cause and support one team and support one Rovers. And I just think he made that far more difficult. I think he just ripped open the wounds in the fan base and just increased the divisions and the strife. And I just don't think I'll forgive him for that, I'll be honest with you. I just don't think I can. That's just me speaking how I feel from the heart about this week, but I'll be interested to hear your opinion on it, Ryan.
Yeah, I'll dip into the comments in a moment, just on a couple of things that you've said there. The ripping open the wounds, I think that is a great analogy, Alex, because this club was in a desperate position when he took it over, and he did amazingly well to repair everything. That squad that he built and go into the games and some of the kind of social media and branding that went around all of that and that momentum and that trajectory that we were on. You know, after those 3 or 4 years of hell that we had, it was enjoyable supporting Blackburn Rovers again. And we have got Tony Mowbray to thank for that. And Tony Mowbray is absolutely a good man who, I don't care what people say, he does want the best for this club. But as you've pointed out, there's just funny ways of showing it at this moment in time. And then the second thing in response to what you said there, the brushing under the carpet and kind of forgetting the 7-0 victory ever happened and saying we're not going to talk about it and not taking accountability and not apologizing for all of this. If I just go into the comments now, you know, just look at what the result of saying things like that is. And this is albeit a small cross-section of Rovers fans, but you know, people are coming in with comments. Grace, he's fueling the hate more with his words. He should be trying to keep the fans on side, not push them further away. El Scotty, the thing that annoyed me the most was TM questioning why there is negativity after the worst home defeat in our history. Callum, agreed, Scotty. His natural response is to fight. Anyone questions him, he fights back. He's a teacher at school you dread working under. Let's talk Blackburn Rovers. As a 16-year-old fan, this was by far the worst I've ever seen us play. The fact Mowbray was questioning the negativity was unbelievable, as he's led us to the first home defeat ever. PB Sellers, he said, if you see something saying abuse, brackets anything negative, go up to them and tell them to shut up. So the result of this approach that is currently being taken is, as you say, the reopening of that wounds and this horrible place. And now if I layer this on top of the things that I've said to you earlier, Alex, that I am absolutely petrified that at the end of this season, Mowbray walks away from his contract, but we've also lost those players who we've already spoken about, Nyambe, Rothwell, Lenihan, and we have a squad of players who are all at risk because they're in the final year of their contract. Brereton, Kaminsky, I think Davenport's in there as well. There might be a few others. I think there's 10 in total that Rich Sharp put on the Lancs Telegraph website. I'm petrified that come the end of May, manager plus 10 players, where would we be next season? And with some of the constraints we might be working under as well, I'm actually really petrified. So the thing that what I'm going to do is just close this part of the stream as we move to Sheffield United. Where I am at now as a fan, I want closure either way. Either give him a new contract so that we get behind it and we know what's happening, and hopefully some of those players sign a new contract because he's staying, or sack him in this November transfer window, in November international window, sorry. This limbo land is doing nothing at this moment in time. It's doing nothing for the fans. It's doing nothing for the good feeling. And as you say, Alex, it's like we've all rewound to, God forbid, that spell under Owen Coyle. It's starting to feel like that again, isn't it? So I just want the club to do something either way with this. And if he gets a new contract, as fans, we have to just get behind that decision as a club. And, you know, Sellers, you've made the point here, new contract equals dead attendances. Yes, it will. I have no doubt about that, Sellers. There are people that have made their mind up, but it would be the decision of the club, and we just are going to have that blind faith again. But this lack of decision at the moment, for me, is just absolutely killing the club. So, Alex, let's move into Sheffield United, because it's firework night. We all need to be happy. You know, fireworks going off. Everything's good. So let's focus on the football. You used the words earlier. We need a response. And that is plain and simple what we need. There needs to be action. There needs to be a result tomorrow. We need to be going into that international break on the back of a positive result. So Sheffield United at home. I just want to ask you a first question. Sometimes what we see after a heavy result for a team are changes. So I'm going to just list off a few players here. Reda Kadra, Ian Poveda, Leighton Clarkson, Danny Butterworth, Jacob Davenport, and let's put Joe Rankin Costello in there as well, because he's just coming back from injury. Those 6 players, are any of those coming into your starting 11? Would you be ringing lots of changes? What would you be doing tomorrow?
That is just a great question, because I've been thinking about this all day, and I think whatever the manager does, and this is the one area where I have some level of sympathy for the manager. I think whatever he does, he will be criticised for it, and by that I mean if he makes no changes, the optics of that are shocking. However, if he makes wholesale changes and brings in players that a lot of the fans don't particularly like, and that the fans believe haven't really made that much of an impact this season, I think the fans will question his decision making. So I can understand that the kind of catch-22 that he's in with that, but I think I would highlight the players I would keep in the side first before the ones I'd kind of kick out. And I think ones that kind of come out of Wednesday with any level of credit for me, I don't be interested in your opinion on this, Ryan, would be Darrell Lenihan, Lewis Travis, Thomas Kaminsky, maybe even John Buckley, and Dolan and Brereton. I think those players are probably the only ones that come out with any level of credit or can hold their heads up high after Wednesday, and I think all of those players would stay in the side. I think for me, I would bring Scott Wharton in at centre back, only because, and I know he's only back to semi-full fitness, but after Wednesday, I actually want a Rovers fan in the team. I know that sounds daft, but I actually want someone out there that I actually know really does care. Cares an awful lot about the result. So I'd have Scott Wharton in there just for that reason. And I know it sounds daft, but that's just the way I'm feeling at the moment. I think if Pickering is back fit, it doesn't look like he will be, but you'd have to pick Eden there, even though I thought he was brutally exposed at times in the second half on Wednesday. Rankin Costello looks like he will get minutes, even though he's not fully fit, with Nyambe still carrying that knock and niggle. And then I think the real dilemma comes in the midfield, doesn't it? Where you have Travis, but you also have Johnson and Rothwell, who really didn't produce on Wednesday. And I think were real kind of, I would say, you'd say players that contributed in the first half to us being on the back foot with mistakes they made. But you look at the squad and you think this squad is very thin. The recruitment hasn't been, I would say, particularly the loan recruitment hasn't been great this season. I think we'd all agree with that. And it leaves Mowbray in an incredibly unenviable position. All I'll say about tomorrow is whichever team picks has to get a win, because a fighting defeat is not a response. A passionate 2-0 defeat won't cut the mustard tomorrow. And I'd be very worried about the mood and the kind of environment over the weekend if that happens. So I'll be honest, I'm kind of happy to let the manager pick his side, and I want him to stand or fall by his decision. That's kind of the state I'm in at the moment with supporting this team. I don't know. These players are so inconsistent that you don't know what performance you're going to get out of them from one game to the next. So I'm going to judge the manager based on the performance and the result, and not based on the team selection. As I say, whatever team he picks has to get a win, and I'll be honest, they have to get a good win as well for me to even come close to making up for Wednesday. So pressure's on, lads, but you've inflicted that pressure on yourselves, I'm afraid. I don't think there's anything else I can say.
Rovers fans, let us know what you think in the comments. Would you be bringing anyone into the side tomorrow? Just to give you some of the team news, which has come out of the club over the last 24 hours. We obviously know that Jan-Paul van Hekke will miss this game and the next 3 games indeed for his red card. Daniel Ayala is out. Harry Pickering is out. And Mowbray did say at the start of this week that Ryan Nyambe would not play 2 games in this week. So he's rated as touch and go. As Alex has said, Scott Wharton is in contention, so he could come back in. Hayden Carter's obviously available and potentially at right back as well. But Sam Gallagher won't make the game. So we've got a few who are out of position. The defence, Alex, it's probably going to be fairly makeshift. So for me, I want to see John Buckley in midfield for a start. I think we lose a hell of a lot from our midfield when John Buckley isn't there. And he's performed admirably at right back in those last 2 games before the Fulham one. I want him back in midfield. I want the settled midfield 3 of Travis, Rothwell and Buckley. I think that's our best midfield 3. So therefore, we're probably picking the only 4 defenders that we've got fit, which is Carter at right back, Wharton, Lenihan and Edun. Let us know in the comments if you agree with that defence, Rovers fans. Is it too soon for Scott Wharton, or is this just the type of game to bring Scott Wharton back into? Let us know what you think in those comments. But that's the back 4 for me. Then that midfield 3, as I say. If Gallagher isn't available, then I want the front 3 that I wanted to see start that Fulham game. I want Khadra and Dolan wide, Brereton through the middle. So that's what I want. Let's just dip into the comments and just see what we have had. Ollie, can't slate Buckley, was going to say, played in a position he's never played and got subbed off. Yeah, so Buckley comes back in, Ollie, absolutely. David, Bradley Johnson needs dropping ASAP as a senior player and someone who should have been guiding the younger ones. His performance against Fulham was a disgrace. And I think the shame for Bradley Johnson there, David, was I actually thought he did really, really well at Derby. Yes, we rode our luck a little bit away at Derby, but I actually thought Bradley Johnson was part of that kind of riding the storm and riding the wave for as long as we did away at Derby until they obviously scored their later goal. So it's a shame that happened. Michael, I'll break off. Thank you for all of your efforts, especially on a Friday. Thank you for that super chat, Michael. Really appreciate your ongoing support to the channel. Ben, Wharton has to play for me. If Gallagher's injured or anyone carrying or playing through injury, they need to be out. Use the youth if needs be. Definitely. International break coming up, Ben. Let's nurse them back. Let's talk Blackburn. Believe that Carter should play. Callum, we have so few players after that performance. Eden still can't be dropped, is what's so sad. Eden struggled, didn't he, at left back on Wednesday night, Callum. But again, I'm not going to slag Eden off too much. He's been brilliant for us this season, and it was a desperately poor half for Rovers. And yeah, Eden, really at fault for 2 of those goals, isn't he? His lack of challenge for Harry Wilson's first goal and then his positioning for Harry Wilson's second goal. He ended up alongside Ryan Nyambe for some reason. I don't know why, but obviously left all of that space. But Eden's been great. El Scotty, I picked Wharton, but I have a feeling he'll go with Carter and JRC. I agree, El Scotty. I'd love to see Wharton, but I could also see that JRC obviously got some minutes on Wednesday. And is Mowbray going to throw Scott Wharton into the frying pan, so to speak, obviously with the atmosphere and the way that it is? We'll see. I'd love to see Wharton, but I can see that. And I think Let's Talk Blackburn's pick that. Pickering won't be available. He is out. But I can see Eden, Lenihan, Carter, not Nyambi either. But if it was that'd be better. And then Callum, it's just because I was so close to him and saw it. Sorry, Eden. So let's talk about Sheffield United a bit then, Alex. So we've said our side there, actually, before we talk about Sheffield United. Do you agree with that side that we've just agreed on there? Or is there anyone else that you're making a case for? You know, Kadra, Brereton, Dolan, front three, Rothwell, Travis, and Buckley. And then Carter, Wharton, Lenihan, Eden, obviously Kaminsky in goal. Is there anyone else that you want to see in that starting 11?
No, I would completely agree with that. I think we can move on.
Excellent. So let's talk about Sheffield United then. Let's just drag this screen over to here so that I can see it and just get under their stats a little bit, as I usually do on the other side. I do just to like look into the stats and see what's going on with the clubs. Sheffield United, just looking at them in comparison to the rest of the Championship, they're a team that like possession of the football, so 61% average possession. This season, they are second overall, second only to Swansea, unsurprisingly, being as Russell Martin gets his side playing with the ball. So Sheffield United like possession of the ball. That's also true away from home, 58% away from home. And just to give you a feel for where that compares to Rovers, overall, Rovers are bottom of the possession stats. We're on a 40% average. And Rovers' home total is also bottom at 39%. So unless there is going to be the reaction like Alex describes and maybe something different to what we've seen this season, we're potentially going to see Sheffield United having a lot of the ball. Now, Alex, I just want to ask you the question. Rovers fans, let us know what you think in the comments as well. If we play the way that we have been this season and we're looking for a response, but Sheffield United come and dictate the ball and have the ball and all of that, is that going to keep the fans on side to the result that's needed, particularly if it's something like 0-0 at halftime or we've not got our front foot on the game? You know, is that the way to go for Rovers, or should we try and get ownership of that ball tomorrow?
I think there's a way to be positive even if you set up as a counter-attacking side. I think it's the emphasis you kind of put on pressing the ball and having runners in the right places to break forward and cause teams problems. I think that's what we did really badly on Wednesday. I think even though we went almost man for man and just in a suicidal fashion, we didn't provide any runners or any kind of linkage of the play, and the quality of passing in midfield and the balls into the forward line were just dreadful. I think when you play as a counter-attacking side like we have this season, there's a premium on getting that right. You have to get that right. Otherwise, as I said before, it becomes a case of hoofing the ball back to the opposition and watching them try and cut through you and break you down, and it almost becomes wave after wave of attack. I think one thing I will say about tomorrow is that if it looks like the game is slipping away from us and Sheffield United are kind of getting on top of the game and Rovers aren't having any joy going forward, you would have to say that the crowd will get incredibly restless. I think one thing that helped Mowbray on Wednesday was that there wasn't a huge away following, with only a few hundred Fulham fans travelling up on a Wednesday. Reduced the impact of the defeat somewhat, but if that's possible. But I think, as I say, the reaction of the crowd will definitely be determined by what happens from any second during the game. And as I say, in football, you're only 5 minutes away from crowd anarchy, whether it be a sending off or a managerial decision or a substitution or a bad mistake or a goal or anything, you know. So it's really difficult to try and read the mood of the crowd. I think, I'll be honest, I think there's more apathy in the Rovers fan base than anything else at the moment. I think the overriding emotion is boredom. I think that might be wrong on that, but I think a lot of people are genuinely quite bored. And I think that means that even if they are angry at the way the team's playing, they tend to not maybe get as vitriolic as they may do if they were kind of passionate or we were in a relegation battle or something like that. So, as I say, it's very difficult to tell how the crowd will react to us throughout the game, but the key thing for Rovers is to get those runners in the channels with Brereton getting on the ball, doing what he can do, showing the best of what he's shown this season, and having chances on goal. Because seeing one-way traffic into our net and not producing any chances is a recipe for a very toxic atmosphere, I think, tomorrow.
Yeah, agreement with what you've been saying there, Alex, in the comments. Callum agreed, Alex, what I was going to say. Great minds. If the effort's there, the fans will care. Absolutely. And then, Ben, if we set up to frustrate them, we could be in trouble. We have to go there and try and get an early lead. So you just want to see that endeavour, don't you, Ben? You know, you want to see Rovers seeming like they're on the front foot. And then, Ollie, I wouldn't play possession. Go with what has worked. Just play a decent side, unlike Fulham. But we can play on the counter and it could still work. Absolutely, Ollie. You know, if we've got that settled midfield three that have done well for us all season, if we've got the outlet of Reda Kadra, obviously Brereton and Dolan as well have been excellent all season. You know, that's what we want to see, don't we? So agree with that. I'll just break off slightly. Matt, the under-23s just lost 6-0 with 10 men. Wow, what a week for our football club.
Hashtag Sharon out.
Oh dear. Not good. Yeah, Ollie, 13-0 across our top two male sides this week. Wowzers. And then Ben, Rothwell and Buckley could be key to Rovers doing well, as long as he's not subbed off. Yeah, and what I like about our midfield three, Ben, is they just all bring something different to that midfield. And Buckley has just been so improved this season. I really like the physicality he's added to his game, you know, getting stuck in a bit more. Really like the pressing that he can do. And obviously his passing ability is just absolutely fantastic. The way he can just pick a ball out and play it down the channels and things like that. So he is critical to what we do in midfield. Just delving a bit deeper then into Sheffield United, 9th overall for goals this season, 4 behind Rovers. So they do know where the net is. Shots per game, they're 7th, averaging about 12 shots per game. So, you know, they have got an attacking threat there. And then if we just look at things like top goal scorers and things, Billy Sharp and Morgan Gibbs-White tied on 4 goals. And then you've got Ben Osborne and Lys Mousset on 3 goals apiece. And then, Alex, if we just look at how Sheffield United are going to set up then, their team looks fairly settled this season. And I think in the championship, if you do have a settled side, I think invariably it does lead to more positive results. And after a fairly slow start for Sheffield United, they are slowly but surely creeping up the table. I think now they've got a more settled side. They don't play these wing backs anymore or the attacking centre backs like what Chris Wilder had. They're more in this 4-2-3-1 formation. And I think for me, I like the fact that they don't play wing backs anymore, because I think it means that Mowbray won't play wing backs, which is where I think we're particularly weak. So Morgan Gibbs-White is the man in form for Sheffield United. So I think this just emphasises how important it is, particularly Lewis Travis and John Buckley, that little number 10 position where we saw Callum O'Hare obviously have great joy for Coventry. We saw Tom Lawrence have some joy for Derby when was away at them as well. And then obviously the Fulham result with the likes of obviously Harry Wilson and Naskins Cabano all in front of our defence. We're going to have to lock down that position, particularly someone like Morgan Gibbs-White, who is a player that is potentially too good for the Championship. So what are you expecting from Sheffield United tomorrow? Is there any players that you're fearing?
Well, obviously you look at the squad, and I've just had a look at the 18-man squad from the most recent game, and there's a lot of names on there that played a big part in promotion 2 or 3 years ago now. You look at players like John Egan and Fleck and Norwood, and these are all tested Championship players and have proven their quality at this level time and time again. So they're always players you'll be fearful of. Say Baldock, for example, McGoldrick, I know he's getting older now and maybe not as effective as he once was, but is still a quality striker who knows where the back of the net is. And, you know, Billy Sharp as well. You kind of staggered that he's still going and he's still around and still playing. But these are all players that you've got to be aware of, and particularly players that are likely to be subbed on later on in the game when hopefully we're still in the game and it'll be crucial. I think other players you mentioned are obviously Brewster, who has had a really tough time, hasn't he, since joining Sheffield United for that big fee the other summer, and hasn't really settled in properly to the club. And I saw something, I don't know if it was Dan, Silent Dan, who said that was Brewster's last goal at Ewood against Rovers for Swansea. I don't know if that's true, and if it is, then I'm more worried about tomorrow than I was. And now, obviously, like you mentioned, Gibbs White as well, and Mowbray. All these players have got quality that can cause damage if you leave them free and allow them to cause that damage. I think what you see in Sheffield United is, I think you see a team that is adapting to a change in management, where they had a long period, didn't they, with the same manager who had a very set system and very set way of playing. And I think when you kind of deviate from that and that manager leaves and a new manager comes in with a different philosophy of playing, and you have to try to change the recruitment round and try and rebalance the squad a little bit in your own kind of image, there is teething problems there associated with that. So I can see that Sheffield United kind of improving over the course of this season. Jukanovic has got a decent record in the league. I think he's won 2 promotions, hasn't he? Out of the division, 1 for Watford and 1 for Fulham. So he does have a proven track record, and I can see, particularly as we get into the new year, and maybe they'll add another 2 or 3 in January, and you would see them probably shoot up the table a little bit with how close the league is. But yeah, as I say, plenty of danger in this team that we're playing, but there's dangers in every team that we play. This is such a close league with 7 or 8 points separating 4th to 19th, which just shows you how similar the level of quality is, or should I say the level of lack of quality between the teams. And I think that just shows you that if you don't turn up on any given day and you don't have your setup right, you can come out on the wrong end of any result. And so we're all to be wary of that, because as I said before, they can't afford to slip up on Saturday. Tomorrow they have to win. It's as simple as that. They have to get that win, and it won't be easy. But as I say, we're at home. We shouldn't fear playing anyone at home. I know it's hard to say that after Wednesday night. I think you'd fear any game after Wednesday, but we've got to get back to that mentality of not fearing anyone at home, but not being too cavalier with that. By that I mean we should set demands of ourselves to compete in these games, to push these teams close, but not be stupid in our approach to the games and allow ourselves a chance to win it.
That's the intriguing thing for me with Sheffield United, because I think you're right. I do expect them to get better this season. They were the team that I thought would struggle the most out of the 3 relegated sides, just because of that transition from the Wilder formation and into obviously what Jukanovic wants to do. I do think eventually, with the players that they've got, that will come good for them. So they are going to be a dangerous side rocking up at Ewood. But what's intriguing for me is, as you say, the home form has been largely good. We were found out against West Brom, and obviously we were very found out against Fulham, against 2 sides that obviously are right up there this season and will be right up there this season. So I'm interested to see kind of where Sheffield United are pitching in that spectrum, and obviously where we're going to be after the 7-0 result. So as you say, really, there's no point over analysing this game. In very simple terms, Rovers need the response. We've just had the worst result in our history at home. Sheffield United are a side that do need to be respected because they like possession of the football. They can score goals away from home. But what better way for us to follow up a result like we've just had than with another home game? We could be going away to Fulham now. We could be going away to West Brom now. We're not. We're at home, where we're usually strong. So let's be confident and positive with that. And as you say, let's hope that the selection is simple. Let's hope we've done our homework on the likes of Gibbs White, and lock that position down, and really, there's no point over analysing it. As you say, Sheffield United are there in danger. So on that note, Alex, and Rovers fans as well, let us know in the comments what your score prediction is for tomorrow. How are you feeling about the game? Will Rovers respond? Are you nervous? Let us know how you're feeling in the comments. I'll run through those just before we finish. But Alex, I'm going to put you on the spot first. What is your prediction for tomorrow? Are we going to respond?
Jesus Christ. I've got no idea. The last time I predicted 1-1, we ended up getting beat 7-0, so I don't think I'm going to do that again. I think the result on Wednesday was so extreme and so egregious that it would just be in the Championship mould to go and win. So I'll go with a 1-0 win.
1-0.
As simple as that.
I mean,
having said that, I
Yeah.
still don't think that should be enough to save the manager's job, but that's my opinion. The ideal world would be a win and a change of manager, but I doubt that'll happen. So you can't have both, so I'll go with a win.
I think there's a late Rovers goal in this game. I really do. I think there's going to be a late goal. I really fear an early Sheffield United goal, though, and what that does. We have to go on the front foot. We have to start quickly. We can't let Sheffield United get their foot on the ball like their underlying stats are showing. They are going to be comfortable in possession. They've got some fantastic midfield players in the likes of Ollie Norwood, John Fleck, Morgan Gibbs-White, as we've spoken about. And then those players in the defence as well that have done it at Championship level, gone up to the Premier League as well. Players like Basham, like Egan, these are good players, and we cannot allow them to be comfortable. So we have to start quickly. I'm slightly fearful of an early Sheffield United goal, but Rovers are going to do it in the last 5 minutes. 2-1. It's going to happen. I think we're going to do it. 2-1, last 5 minutes. I think we're going to respond. What happens after that point, i.e. within the international break, I don't know. I still think that feeling is going to be there in the fan base. I think there's a lot of people that have most certainly made their mind up on Mowbray now. I don't think there's any coming back from that, actually, unless he gets us promoted. And obviously, if you think that that's going to happen, then that's obviously a view you can have as well. But I think a lot of fans, their mind was made up once and for all on Wednesday night. So we just need to respond. 2-1 Rovers, I'm saying. A few predictions have come in. If you want to get your score prediction in, you've got about 30 seconds before we end up closing this stream. So I'm going to start with Ollie. You've also gone 2-1. Good on you, Ollie. Callum 0-0. David 1-0. Ben, Rovers 4-2. Shaky start. Think Rovers will respond in a good way. Brereton 2. Buckley, Rothwell all to score. I'm strangely confident. Let's talk Blackburn Rovers. Could see a 0-0 ball draw, enough to stop the rot, but enough to keep the manager's ball. Concerned about an early goal and how the crowd could turn. Yeah. El Scotty 1-0. Can't see us winning, but I feel the players will be up for it. I think the players will be up for it, El Scotty. I really do. They can't not respond to that result on Wednesday night. And actually, regardless of everyone's views about the manager and some of the inner workings of the club and the ownership and all of that, which I know a lot of people have, deep-rooted feelings about, this squad of players, they do care. And they have largely been great this season. And I really do enjoy watching them. I know that the likes of Darragh Lenihan, Lewis Travis, John Buckley, Ben Brereton, they will want a response. They absolutely will want a response. I know that they will. And they'll get the rest of them on board, maybe some of the lone players if they're coming into the squad. So I do think they'll be up for it as well, El Scotty. I agree with that. So there we go. I think slightly mixed from Rovers fans, a couple of draws in there, but a few wins as well. Just before we close this stream, I was going to come back to the comments. Where are we? Sorry, just whilst I look around. Here it is. Ollie, So Ollie put in a message earlier, just saw he'd mentioned he's stopping the watch-alongs and the Fulham one was the last one. So Ollie's obviously been covering our watch-alongs from down under this season. So Ollie is going to be focusing on some other things. Importantly, some of his school exams and other things as well. So good luck with those, Ollie. But, you know, everyone's been absolutely appreciative of everything you've done on those watch-alongs, Ollie. You've done a great job. And for those people that haven't been able to make it to Ewood for any reason, you've kept everyone entertained. So well done, Ollie. You've earned a very deserved break. And look out for Ollie on some of the other content that we're going to be doing as well. But Alex, there we go. Has that been therapeutic in any way, shape or form? Are you up for this game tomorrow? Is it going to be fireworks, a Rovers win?
Well, I think that's what we all hope for. I think it's you can never, ever, ever. I've always kept this philosophy around supporting my club. You can never let dislike of the manager affect your want of the team to win a game. You can never let that happen. And so I'm absolutely desperate for all of the fans who are going to be going to the ground tomorrow to see that win, which they so desperately deserve after Wednesday night. So yeah, I'm anxious about tomorrow because I do understand that a bad result will kind of make the position of the club really untenable with regards to certain things. So I understand the consequences of the game. It's a really big game. It didn't have to be a big game, but it is. We can't change that now. And so the players have got to deliver, haven't they? And you know, it has been therapeutic. I think it's been a bad week, hasn't it? As Rovers fans, I think we've all suffered with it, and you know, you do see the tweets about being mocked in workplaces and that, and it comes with the territory, doesn't it? And
yeah,
you wouldn't have it any other way, and you hope that in another few years we'll be taunting whoever else it is who's lost 7-0 at home. But for now, we're the victims, aren't we? So we've got to take it. But let's hope that we can move on. I'll never forget it. I don't think you'll forget it, Ryan. But it shouldn't be forgotten. It shouldn't be forgotten. Wednesday night, it should be remembered as the way not to do things, so that it isn't repeated. But like I say, the only way that the club can flourish is by winning games of football, and so obviously I'm desperate for them to do that tomorrow. And yeah, it's been great to be on again. Thanks for having me on. I always enjoy the live streams, even though some people might not like the negativity, but I try and kind of provide a little bit of a balance to it. So yeah, thanks for having me on again.
You do. You provide balance to me and my golden retriever smile and always kind of being the chirpy one. So it's good to be like that, Alex. Don't worry. And you're absolutely right. We just need the result tomorrow. Kind of good in a way that it's the anniversary game tomorrow. Cheap tickets. If you are thinking about going and you've not bought one yet, go and get behind the lads tomorrow. This is a young team. We've said it before. They need our support. And if we're going to support them in any way, tomorrow is the day to do it, isn't it? You know, we really need that result tomorrow just to put that result to bed that we had on Wednesday evening. So if you are thinking of going and you've not got your ticket yet, go and do it. Go and get behind the lads. Hopefully we get the job done and then we can just go into the international break feeling a little bit better. So that's it. We'll end the stream there. Big thank you to Michael Pearson for the super chat. Big thank you to our sponsors, Blue Rose Capital and 6yardsout.com. And of course, big thank you to all of you in the comments for keeping Alex and I entertained and providing your views and thoughts as always. It's been great to have you on the comments and great to have some new faces and names in there as well. So enjoy the game if you're there tomorrow. If not, then obviously enjoy whatever you're up to over this weekend with Bonfire Night and all that. We will leave you with our sponsor message from 6yardsout.com. Alex, you have a good evening. See you later, Rovers fans. The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 6yardsout.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below.